Hey there, and welcome back to the Beyond Blood Sugar podcast. Today, we're diving into something that doesn't nearly get enough attention because it's another one of those things that people don't talk about a lot. And, that's kind of what this podcast is I'm bringing to light some of the things that play a role in blood sugar regulation and insulin resistance, but it's not one of those things that is talked about very much, even though this particular thing can quietly disrupt your metabolism. It can drive insulin resistance and even has the potential to stall progress that you're making. What are we talking about, you might ask? Well, we're talking about endocrine disruptors. These are little chemicals found in everyday things like plastics, receipts, makeup, lotions, air fresheners that mess with your hormones. And they mess with them in ways that are subtle but powerful. And when these hormonal signals kind of get scrambled, your body just can't regulate blood sugar the way that it should. It has the potential to become more resistant to insulin. Fat storage might start ramping up. Cravings may intensify. Perhaps your metabolism slows down, even when you're doing all the things, right? Now, this isn't about panic or perfection because I'm never about perfection. I'm all about baby steps. I'm not here to tell you to throw out all your Tupperware and live off grid. This is about awareness because awareness is key. Why is it key? Well, because if your labs don't match the effort that you're putting in, if you feel like your body isn't responding the way that it used to, endocrine disruptors might be part of the reason. So in today's episode, we're going to be unpacking what they are, where they show up in your everyday life, how they affect certain hormones, metabolism, and insulin response, and how to start reducing your exposure in small, doable ways. Because again, I'm all about baby steps. Here's the deal though. Metabolic health isn't just about carbs or calories. Okay. I hope by now you know that. It's also about the signals that your body gets about what to do with the fuel that you give it. When we say metabolic health depends on hormonal signals, one of the biggest threats to those signals is the presence of endocrine disrupting chemicals or EDCs. Endocrine is a very hard word for me to say. I don't know why. So I may just say EDCs from now on. We'll see. Um, we'll see what comes out of my mouth. Sometimes I never know. Anyway, I know that these EDCs, might sound like something far removed from everyday life, but really they aren't. These chemicals are everywhere. They're in your water bottles, your receipts, your cosmetics, your nonstick pans, your food packaging, air fresheners, um, the little fabric softener things that you put in your dryer. Okay. You're not exposed to just one or two. You're exposed to dozens, if not hundreds, every single day. And while this might sound dramatic, it matters because your endocrine system is your body's hormone communication network. This includes glands like your pancreas, thyroid, adrenals, ovaries, all working together to regulate metabolism and stress and energy and appetite and, yes, insulin. But when that network gets disrupted, when these fake chemical signals come in and either mimic or block your natural hormones, the whole system gets thrown off. So let's take insulin for an example. Some endocrine disruptors can interfere with how insulin is made. Others can make your cells less sensitive to it, which means your body has to pump out even more insulin just to get the same effect, right? Sound familiar? Over time can lead to insulin resistance, even in people who aren't eating a ton of sugar or refined carbs. And this isn't just theoretical. There are real published studies linking chemicals like BPA, phthalates, PFAS, PFAS, those are the forever chemicals, but linking them to higher risk of type 2 diabetes and metabolic syndrome. These compounds don't just sit in your body quietly. Okay, they act on your fat cells. They interfere with glucose regulation. They drive inflammation that can chip away at your progress. Again, even when you're doing, quote, everything right. If you're eating well, moving your body, managing your stress, sleeping, and you're still dealing with stubborn blood sugar spikes or weight that might not be budging, it could be one of these hidden stressors that just isn't talked about. And that's why we need to talk about where they're hiding, how to start reducing exposure without falling into panic mode. Okay. Now, before you start thinking, great, one more thing to stress about, take a breath. Okay. Again, it's not about living in a bubble or tossing out your whole house. It's about awareness. Because once you know where these hormone disrupting chemicals are hiding, you can start making small, simple changes. Let's start with plastics. Okay. These are one of the biggest offenders. If you're reheating food in plastic containers or drinking from plastic water bottles that have been sitting in your hot car, this one's for you. Okay. Heat causes plastics to break down and leach chemicals like BPA, which mess with your estrogen receptors. And even those BPA free labels, well, unfortunately, researchers have found that many of the most common replacements also leach chemicals that are endocrine disruptors, specifically those with estrogenic activity. Okay. So swapping one kind of plastic for another might not be the best solution. What about, what's another one? What about your coffee habit? I don't drink coffee. My husband drinks like a pot of coffee a day. If you are drinking coffee every day, specifically like if you're going through the drive-through at Starbucks or something, um, or whatever, I don't know, Black Rock, Starbucks, whatever coffee place you might go to, those plastic lined paper cups might be leaching chemicals too, especially when they're holding hot liquids. And if you use, flavored creamers or sugar-free syrups, many of them contain emulsifiers and preservatives that can also contribute to gut and hormone disruption. What about receipts? Have you heard about like to try to minimize handling receipts? Those little slips of paper are coated with BPA or BPS. Think about how often you touch them at the store, the gas station, or, picking up takeout, whatever. And they can like absorb right into your skin, even with like just taking the receipt and putting it into your purse or something, okay? Right through your skin. What about makeup or that bathroom shelf? All the stuff you have in your bathroom. Products like lotion, perfumes, deodorant, shampoos, foundation, even tampons can be loaded with endocrine disrupting chemicals. Look out for ingredients like fragrance, parabens, phthalates, all things, or they're all linked to hormone disruption. They're linked to things like fertility issues, insulin resistance. And here's the kicker: companies aren't even required to disclose what makes up their quote fragrance. That one word can hide dozens of chemicals. And I'll share a quick personal story here. I was trying to move away from tampons because tampons are loaded with chemicals and we're putting them in a very, very important place, right? And so I went out and I got period underwear, only to find out later that they were found to have forever chemicals in them, the PFAS. So sometimes, even when you're trying to do the right thing, it can be tricky. Okay. What else should we talk about? What about the kitchen? Are you cooking with nonstick pans? Maybe they're scratched or peeling a little bit. Those probably contain forever chemicals that are linked to everything from thyroid issues to blood sugar problems and insulin resistance. Same goes for fast food wrappers, microwave popcorn bags, and even some nonstick bakeware. And we haven't even touched on cleaning products, y'all. That lemon scented all purpose spray you have under your sink, the one that promises to kill 99.9999% of bacteria, may be loaded with lots of different things like artificial fragrance and other, hormone disrupting compounds that can linger in the air long after you sprayed them, right? Your laundry detergent, dryer sheets, fabric softener, they can all play a role, coating your clothes in this synthetic fragrance that sits on your skin all day long. Okay. Goes up your nose in your skin, just sits there. I have it, by the way, I have a huge array of do-it-yourself home cleaning and personal care product recipes on one of my websites. It's called the Happy Body Project. I will drop a link to that for you guys so you can check it out if you're interested in, making some personal care stuff and cleaning products from home that don't contain all this stuff. So, yeah, it can feel overwhelming, okay? But again, the goal isn't to overhaul your entire life in a weekend. It's to reduce your exposure where you can so your body isn't constantly fighting this invisible battle. So maybe that means, swapping your plastic containers for glass or, ditching the air fresheners for essential oils. Finding a clean brand of deodorant or lotion that skips all the junk. Or better yet, ditching the deodorant altogether. I haven't worn it in years, y'all. And honestly, the cleaner you eat, the less you actually need it. I mean, do I stink sometimes if I've worked out twice, haven't showered? Yeah, sometimes, but it's rare, even after I work out. I can tell you though, when I'm not eating very clean and I might be having gluten, which is rare, but if I have gluten and higher carbs, my body will smell different and it will smell more like I need deodorant. But when you're eating clean, you really don't need deodorant. Um, what are some other things? If someone asks, "Do you need a receipt?" Unless you absolutely need a receipt, just say no, thank you. Okay, I say no almost all the time. Choose cast iron, or stainless steel for cookware. Maybe keep a reusable glass or stainless steel water bottle in your car instead of plastic. You don't have to do everything. You just need to start somewhere, okay? Because every small shift gives your body less to detox, less to manage, and more capacity to regulate on its own, especially when you're already dealing with things like, fatigue and belly fat and hormonal fluctuations. And that brings us to the part that really matters in this discussion, and that's how these exposures actually show up in you, not just in lab results, but in the way that you feel every day. Here's the truth. Your body is incredibly smart, but when it's constantly bombarded by chemical signals that mess with your hormones, it starts adapting in ways that aren't so helpful in the long term. And you feel it. You might notice no matter how well you eat or active you are, your weight, especially around your midsection, your belly, just won't budge. Okay. That midsection fat is what I'm talking about. It's often the result of hormonal confusion tied to insulin and cortisol and estrogen. And it's not about discipline per se, it's about disruption. Okay. Or maybe you're tired all the time. Not just sleepy, but that like bone deep, wired but exhausted fatigue. You know what I'm talking about? That kind where your mind won't shut off at night, but you're dragging all day. It's a nervous system stuck in a loop, okay? Cortisol dysregulation, your body trying to survive in this invisible stressor 24/7, okay? You might also notice cravings that come out of nowhere. You might finish a meal and you're still hunting for sugar or carbs or salty things. That could be your insulin and leptin signals getting scrambled. Your body might not be able to tell when it's full. Maybe your brain keeps looking for fuel even though it doesn't actually need it. Hormones like estrogen and progesterone, they get hit too. Maybe your cycle has changed or longer, heavier, more symptomatic, or perimenopause suddenly feels like a wrecking ball out of nowhere. Sometimes these shifts show up years before any labs will confirm what's going on. And sometimes the labs don't always confirm what's going on, by the way. And it doesn't even stop there. Skin issues, weird rashes, breakouts, sensitivities to products that used to be fine. That could be your body trying to detox through the skin because your liver and other elimination pathways are just like, I'm out, like enough. Even your gut can take a hit. If you're bloated all the time, suddenly reacting to foods that, again, never used to bother you before, or constipated, despite drinking lots of water. Endocrine disruptors might be part of the picture, okay? They mess with your microbiome, which fuels inflammation and throws off your blood sugars, digestion, mood, all the things. So, yeah, the fatigue, the cravings, the belly fat, the hormonal chaos, they might not be random. And they might not be just part of aging that we're told sometimes too. They're metabolic red flags. And when your body's dealing with that kind of stress, especially at the cellular level, one of the first things to break down, or one of the first things that can break down, I should say, is insulin signaling. Not just blood sugar, but insulin. And when insulin signaling starts to fall off, your body shifts into fat storage mode. Your cravings can crank up, your energy crashes, you feel just off, even when, your blood work or everything, quote, on paper says you're fine. This is when you start to realize that the problem might not be the food. I mean, I should back up. Uh, it might be what the food's wrapped in or contains, but it might not be the carbs per se. Sometimes it's the hormonal noise drowning out your body's ability to respond. So let's talk about that connection to insulin a bit more, actually. Let's be real. At this point, you already know what insulin resistance is. You know, it isn't just about carbs or calories, it's about how your body is interpreting signals. And endocrine disruptors can be part of that noise. These aren't big dramatic exposures like we've talked about. They can be micro hits from the things like the receipts, the packaging, the perfumes, the skincare, the cookware, things you interact with all day, every day. And slowly they interfere with insulin signaling at the cellular level. Some mess with receptor function, others trigger chronic inflammation that keeps cells resistant. But the end result, insulin's doing its job, but your body isn't hearing the message. Okay. And yeah, the research backs that up. We're talking higher fasting insulin, greater insulin resistance, more metabolic dysfunction, even in people with the so-called um, or without the quote bad lifestyle. But here's the kicker. This doesn't show up with like red flashing lights. It shows up as fatigue, cravings, weight gain around the middle, blood sugar issues, all the things you've been trying to fix with food and lifestyle, but without realizing your body's still fighting this other battle, okay? All of it has to be addressed. So, what do you do with all this? Honestly, if you've made it this far, you've already started. You're more aware of what's impacting your body than most people ever get to be, okay? You've seen where endocrine disruptors hide. You've got some clear, doable places to start, addressing that toxic load. And here's what matters. Every small step you take gives your metabolism more space to function, more room to breathe, less interference, less noise, more opportunity for your hormones, including insulin, to do what they're meant to do. So, again, I will go back to this isn't about perfection. It's about creating enough shift that your body notices, that your cravings feel easier to manage. Your energy doesn't crash by 2 p.m. Your cycle starts to feel less chaotic. Your blood sugar finally starts responding. So, if you know someone who's stuck in that loop of the fatigue, the frustration, the mystery symptoms that no one is able to explain, send this episode to them because this is the part that gets missed. This is what it means to go beyond blood sugar. So, you've got this. One swap, one shift, one smart step at a time, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.